Welcome to my channel. I'm Erin, and I started this channel because I want to help other people like me with eating disorders or any mental health issue, really, to develop a regular daily journaling practice to help them heal. Let me start off with telling you that I am not a professional. Anything that I talk about in my videos is what I've learned from experience. In today's video, it's episode number 2 of the series, Starting Your Journaling Practice. And we are going to talk about all of the things besides the actual journal that you might want to gather together in order to make your journaling habit a success. We're going to talk about pens, we're going to talk about pencils, we're going to talk about erasers and rulers, we're going to talk about other mediums that you might want to use in your journal, and we're also going to talk about why you want to have something to put it all in. So yes, it's time to get in touch with your inner squirrel. Much like squirrels gather nuts for the winter, I'm going to ask you to gather all your tools together into one neat little space to make this a little bit easier for you to practice journaling every day. So the tools that you're going to want to gather together are things that you find fun, things that you need, and things that are going to be a pleasure for you to use, which will encourage you to do it every day. You need to be able to write, you need to be able to doodle or draw, and you need to be able to do things like paint or blend markers. I know, crazy. I never would have thought I was going to be doing any of those things either when I started journaling, and yet here I am. So don't rule anything out. Leave yourself open to experimentation. So when I started journaling, I started with a simple pack of ballpoint pens, and that's certainly something that I'm going to recommend you have in your arsenal when you're getting ready to start journaling. You can start with just a simple red, black, and blue even. You can do all kinds of doodles, just like back in high school. I used to doodle in my notebooks in high school. So yeah, you can do all kinds of doodles like that with just a few simple colors of ballpoint pens. Fun fact, when I first started, I had the goofiest pen. I wish I still had it to show you, but of course I used all the ink because it was a unicorn pen, and the unicorn had a blinky light in it that lit up when you whacked it on something. It was so much fun, way too much fun. It made me feel like a kid again. Some other pen options that you might want to take a look at if you're feeling a little adventurous is gel pens. They come in all kinds of shapes, sizes, and colors. So here are a few of my favorites, and you might be able to pick up the glitter on the cap. The reason that there's glitter on the caps is because there's glitter in the ink. These are gel pens, and I love glitter. Everything glitter. Christmas is great for me because there's glitter everywhere. So these are super fun if you want to add them to your journaling practice. The thing that I would warn you about is with gel pens, you need to know that the gel ink stays wet for a little while. So if you are a left-handed person, you might find gel pens to be a little frustrating for you because of course we write, if you're writing English, you write left to right, and a left-handed person would then drag their hand through the ink that they've just laid on the page, and it will smudge or smear. So you play around with a few different gel pens if you're feeling adventurous and wanting to add some super fun colors. Another great gel pen that I use often, not for writing so much, but for highlighting on pictures, is a white gel pen. Because once you've laid down a bunch of dark colored ink, if you want a part of the little doodle or drawing that you're doing to pop out a little bit, you can highlight it with a white gel pen. Now, I don't have any to show you, but even if I did, it wouldn't come across very well, because another thing that I was going to bring up to you is scented pens. Again, super fun, brings me back to my childhood when I used scented pens, and I could show them to you, but really what's the point, because there's no scratch and sniff on video. Now, one thing I don't have to show you is a multicolor pen. I ran across one online the other day, and again, it took me right back to high school, elementary even, when we had those multicolored pens. They're a thicker barrel, and then they've got little thingies you slide down on the top of the pen to choose your ink color, so it's several different colors of ink in one pen. And that can be super fun if you travel a lot, or if you like to take your journal with you everywhere you go. Okay, let's talk pencils. I am a planner by nature, so if you're a planner by nature, you might find yourself wanting to draw in your journal in pencil before you actually lay any ink down. That's what I do. It's just in my nature, nothing good or bad about it, it's just who I am. And if that's you too, that's just fine. If you like to wing it, all the power to you. Go for it and wing it. two options that I've used are a mechanical and a regular wooden pencil. I gravitate to the mechanical. As a matter of fact, I had to look pretty deep in my stash to find a wooden pencil because I just don't use them anymore. I like the fact that with a mechanical pencil, the lead is almost always consistently the same size. So with a wooden pencil, you wear the lead down and it changes the shape of the tip of the pencil, and then I get lines that are different thicknesses and it just irritates me. So plus there's the whole having to sharpen a wooden pencil issue as well. So if you're traveling, not only do you need to take a pencil, you also need to take a sharpener. Let's talk rulers. So a word about rulers. When I started, I learned really quickly that I like things straight. When I'm working on a drawing or a doodle and I'm feeling a little frisky, I might not draw lines to keep things straight. I might not use a straight edge, but I almost always use a straight edge. And when I started, I just had a little plastic, I don't even have it anymore to show you, but I just had a little plastic 6-inch school straight edge or ruler. And I threw that in my pencil case and I would take it with me. Then I graduated to, I wanted one with a little bit more precise measurements on it to draw grids and lines and stuff. And so I bought a metal one. And the reason that I love the metal one is because it has a cork backing. And so it doesn't slide around on the paper as much as the plastic one did. So once you lay it down, you don't have to push down quite as hard on it to get it to stay in place. That was great. That's what I loved about the metal ruler. Since then, I have purchased myself a grid line ruler, and this one is by Artist Loft. So you can see it's got a grid printed right on it, and the measurements are also on the grid. So I can do a border around a page without having to measure a whole bunch of times. You can just literally lay this down on the page with one of these lines against the edge of the page, and as long as it's even along the edge of the page at the bottom, you know that this line is going to be plumb on your page. So I also use this to draw lines for writing. So as I mentioned in my last video, the books that I use right now for journaling are blank. So they don't have lines. I'm trying to find a blank page. Yeah, they don't have any lines on them for journaling, and that's because the lines drive me nuts when I'm doodling or drawing. So I buy the plain paper pages, and then I will sometimes draw lines in if I want to write and keep my writing perfectly straight. So yeah, this was probably one of the best investments that I have made into my journaling practice to date. Okay, my favorite medium, markers. So when you first start, if you're feeling like you want to try a little bit of new fun techniques, the marker is, in my opinion, by far the most versatile tool. You can use it to do all kinds of things, including watercolor effects, if you have the right markers. So you're going to want to look at alcohol-based versus water-based markers, and the two of those don't intermingle very well, but if you start a picture or drawing with a water-based marker, you're going to want to continue using the water-based marker. I could go into detail about fastness of the different types of inks and the different kinds of marker, but I'm not going to do that in this video because I want to keep it super simple so that you can just have some fun things in your toolkit to implement into your journaling practice to make it a little bit more fun. Let's talk about actual markers then. When I started with some plain, old, simple Crayola markers. I know, it's nuts. Maybe this is why I'm so drawn to all those goofy pens and stuff. All of my tools are from my childhood, apparently. So these are just, these ones are called Pipsqueaks. They come in all different kinds of colors. You can buy packages with different themed colors, and they're super fun. Their tip is fairly broad. The colors that you get from these markers are nice and even. I love that about them. And also, as long as you stick to Crayola brand, you can learn how to blend the colors with these markers really, really well, and they blend really nicely. So I love that about them. The other great thing about them is, as opposed to, say, a Sharpie, which is also another option, that Sharpie now comes in all kinds of colors, just like Crayola does. As a matter of fact, you can get metallic Sharpies now, which are super fun. They come in different size points, so if you're looking for something a little bit finer, then the Sharpie might be a better option over the Crayola. Although I know Crayola does offer some finer tips. I don't have any to show you, but if you're looking for tip size, the Sharpies definitely have more options there. The downfall for me with Sharpies is the amount of pigment that they apply to the page. So they are not water-based, they're alcohol-based. So there's a lot more pigment that goes onto the paper. So unless your paper is really thick, you're gonna wanna be careful about bleed through. Bleed through is when the color goes from one side of the page onto the other. And bleed through is something, again, that kind of irritates me. I tend to not use a page if it's got a lot of bleed through from something that I've drawn or written on the opposite side. So if that's something that might irritate you, then you might want to stay away from the Sharpies and try a water-based. I know I've alluded to this in the previous video and probably earlier in this one as well, but you're going to want to have something to put your tools in. If you travel at all, you need to be able to take them with you, and they need to be able to travel easily, and it needs to be something that's going to fit really well into whatever luggage you normally use. So if you tend to go on, I know I sometimes go on overnight trips with my husband and we just go away for one night. I don't take a big bag. So I just need to have my basic tools and the stuff that I need in a pencil case. So everything that I need in order to have some fun and do a little bit of drawing and journaling can fit in this one little pouch. So you can just grab that, you can grab your journal and out the door you go, or into a bag it goes, and it doesn't take up the whole bag. Another thing about putting your tools into a case of some sort is you can put them away. Now, I'm perhaps a little bit different in my home situation. I don't have small children in the house anymore, and except when my grandbabies come over. So it's not so much an issue for me. I have a dedicated space, but not everybody has that. So if you find yourself in a situation where you share your space with other people and they tend to help themselves to what's yours, I encourage sharing, but this is going to be your one exception. I would really encourage you to keep your journaling tools to yourself. So in order to set this up as a ritual and make it a habit, and make it something that you look forward to doing, I think it's important that your tools are all available to you when you're ready to journal. If you're anything like me, when I was still raising my 2 kids, you'll know that it's really irritating to have to hunt around the house to find whatever it is that one of your little angels has stolen from your office supplies, or in this case, your journaling supplies, before you're able to sit down and journal. It's not going to put you in a great headspace if you have to spend 10 minutes looking for your grid ruler, or you have to spend 10 minutes looking for your markers. And we know that kids are going to love playing with your markers. Kids love creativity, and so keep them to yourself. This is the one thing that you're allowed to be greedy with. Heck, buy them a set of Crayolas, and they can have their own journaling tools too. I think it's important to say that if you have little people in your life that are watching you on a day-to-day basis, and they see you spending time on yourself journaling, and they see that it helps you, and they see that you protect that time, they're going to learn that it's important. And there's a whole lot of reasons why that's really good. So I mentioned this in my last video, but I'm currently working on publishing a journal that mashes together all of my favorite features of all the different journals that I've tried. And that includes features that will enable you and me, because I'll use the journal too, to utilize some of the tools that I've talked about today in a way that is fun for you and helps you develop that habit of journaling. Don't worry about my journal though. Let's get you started. That's gonna be a long time before that's published. So let's get you started now. If you haven't already started that journal, it's time. So this is one video in a series of 5 videos. This is number 2. So there's 3 more coming your way. What are we talking about in the next video? I'm so glad you asked. We're going to be talking about journaling rituals. If you want to make sure that you don't miss any of them, then click the red subscribe button and you'll get a notification when I upload the next video. And while you're busy clicking away on the subscribe link, check out the description for this video and you'll find a link in there to my Facebook page where I post inspiration and articles that I find online that I think are helpful and motivational. I'll see you in the next video.